Being tough can actually hurt men with cancer. And here's how you can build the strength to heal instead.
When faced with cancer, women tend to reach out and men tend to check out.
If that's you, if you've been trying to protect your family by keeping quiet or white knuckling this fight alone, that tough guy act can actually make recovery harder. Proof? My guest, Paul Apodoca, was a thriving Microsoft executive who went from a routine colonoscopy to stage 4 cancer in one afternoon.
We're changing what it means to man up in the face of cancer. It's not just about being tough, it means having the courage to accept help and knowing we're smarter and stronger as a pack than we are as lone wolves.
By the end of this conversation, if you've been recently diagnosed and want to know how to kick cancer's ass, this episode will show you the small steps you can take today to do just that. I'm Joelle Kaufman, and I'm your guide in kicking cancer's ass. The plan is simple. Paul shares quick actions you can use right now to take control of your cancer fight. If you're ready to turn toughness into true healing power, this is where you start. So, Paul, let's go back in time to that moment. You went in, routine colonoscopy, you're a good, diligent patient, and you come out with stage 4 cancer. Can you walk us through that day when your wife got called inside the building and what went through your minds, and how did you process hearing all that?
Obviously, it's not your normal doc because you're getting a special procedure done. And it was during COVID, so I went in by myself. My wife was waiting in the car, and she was thinking, this procedure is taking a long time. And so they call her, and they're like, you need to come into the hospital. And she's like, this can't be good. The doc saw something when he was doing the procedure. He wasn't happy with it. Basically, he saw the tumor in my colon. And that initial set of imaging showed what looked like metastases to my lymph nodes, to my liver, to my lungs, and potentially my lower back. And typically, if stuff gets into that area, it could be in your blood as well. So we were freaked out. I mean, basically, that felt like a death sentence. My wife, being who she is, she's kind of a planner and a research-oriented person, just went into mama bear mode. And we started like, what are we going to do? Because I was, as I think a lot of cancer patients end up being, was just kind of in a state of shock about what we were hearing. We were lucky in the sense that my wife has a cousin who works at MD Anderson. We took a flight there. We were actually, did the typical, we need to go to where the best care is. So we flew down to Houston, talked with him. In parallel with that, my mom used to work for UCSF, so we lit up that phone tree, tried to figure out, who do we talk to and how can we get in the fastest that we can. My wife's cousin kind of gave us, ran through the ropes, gave us a pretty clinical response in the sense that with that diagnosis, there's kind of a stable set of things that you do. You always start with chemo for the most part, unless it's something that they can operate on immediately or they need to operate on immediately. So in my case, they didn't need to. We could start with chemo, and he's like, don't move. Stay close to home. Stay close to your friends. Stay in a place that you know, because trying to pick up and move at the same time as going through treatment is going to be counterproductive. So he recommended someone. Interestingly enough, that same person was recommended to me from UCSF. Her name is Dr. Atreya. So we met with her and we put a plan in motion to do our first set of chemo.
Now, I remember in your story, there was a time where I think your wife's research propelled you all to actually challenge the plan. Because I think a lot of they don't know how to do the research or even how to bring up the topic and say, well, what if I did this?
Right. She took the attitude that we're going to beat this. Well, we both did, really. She was seeing on Facebook, on a set of groups she was in, a lot of posts about a couple of doctors that were being a little more aggressive on how to treat cancer and taking surgical approaches. We didn't leapfrog the chemo, but what we wanted to do is not be in a place where we were doing chemo for life, but we were going to do surgery and try to get this out of my body. We contacted Dr. Fong, and within a week they got back to me, and we had an appointment scheduled to go talk to him. This was pretty deep into my chemo because we were basically trying to go, okay, I finished chemo. You can only do so much, right? Both doctors wanted me to come down to City of Hope. We're here in the Bay Area, so we drove down. And I think part of that is they want to know that if you're going to do surgery, you are going to have an attitude of recovery, that you're going to beat this. Because for them, they've got a lot of demand, and these surgeries are not trivial. In my case,
Right.
they opened me up from sternum to below my belly button, pulled everything out, removed a bunch of stuff. Recovery was not easy, but if you kind of dedicate yourself to it and that goal is to get past it, it's definitely doable.
What does it mean to dedicate yourself to your recovery? What kinds of things does one do besides, lay in the bed and
Yeah,
heal?
I'm kind of a lifelong athlete. I played sports in high school, college, and afterwards. And most athletes are hate going in for PT. This case, you
Right.
can't do that. With these kinds of surgeries, you get a pretty significant buildup of scar tissue, and if you don't do the stretches and walk and everything else, you're going to have lifelong side effects. Even after doing all that, I still have the scar tissue still sensitive. That's because I overscar.
Mm.
But yeah, it's. I'll actually say this in general when you're going through your cancer journey. Take your meds, do your stretching, do your exercises, like all of this stuff that feels like it's mindfulness stuff, even meditation, it's all going to be directionally appropriate towards being able to battle this disease. It's not easy.
Right. I think of it in terms of what am I doing to keep my immune system, my body as strong as possible so that it can handle whether it was chemo or surgery.
That's right.
You mentioned something about liquefying a tumor, and I just have to know.
So
What are you talking about?
I haven't had this procedure. I had there's something called histotripsy. It was FDA approved. I want to say 18 months ago. There's a few hospitals in the U.S. that have this machine, but what it does is it uses sound waves to liquefy the tumor material. It's not appropriate for all liver conditions because it can't like be too close to a vein or something. But yeah, that was one of the things that we looked into, and it's in my basket of, if something comes back, we'll go back to that. Because the nice thing about that procedure is, unlike an ablation, it's not going to scar. It actually allows your liver to heal back that tumor area that was liquefied.
Well, and livers are incredible because they regenerate. Awesome.
Yes, for sure.
You made a choice. Your children, you were what I call free birds. Otherwise, people call them empty nesters. But your children weren't living near you, and you made some choices about how to tell them.
Yeah.
You tell us a little bit about those choices, how you thought about it, and you're dealing with adult children, but they're still your children.
Yeah, so my youngest was in college at the time, and we didn't want to turn his world upside down. And my middle child was pretty early in career, or she was choosing actually where she was going to go. She was just wrapping up her master's program. So first and foremost, we wanted to get all the data available. Uh, my daughter's getting her MHA, so she's probably a little too dangerous in terms of what she knows about the medical industry and hospitals. Uh, and so we made the decision we told them a white lie to get them to the West Coast. My wife flew out and collected both of them, saying they were going to surprise me, because we felt like it was important to share the information in person and let them ask all the questions that they had, and not do it over Zoom because it's just this is where being able to hug someone else matters.
I feel like I want to hug you right now. This memory is hard, and I remember, I would say, the two hardest conversations were telling my kids and telling my parents, and the kids was harder.
Yeah, because I think it set them down this path. Some of the questions were, well, do I apply to a school on the West Coast and transfer? Right, that was my youngest. My
Hmm.
daughter's like, do I not take this opportunity that I've got to work at one of the best hospitals in the country and try to be in Seattle or go to UCSF? And the answer in both cases is no. Like, don't turn your life upside down. We're gonna fight this. And the reality is, it was COVID, so uh, I couldn't get sick while I was going through treatment. Otherwise, you'd get I think
Right.
it was a 20 to 30 day delay on your chemo
Hmm.
treatment. So if you got sick after you recovered from COVID, yeah, it
Right.
wasn't an option.
So I remember, my middle boy, he was about to go back for his freshman winter, but like you, he's an athlete. So there was no coming home.
Right.
Once he left, he's in season, he can't come back. And, he looked like he was devastated.
Yeah.
And what he said was, "You're always there for me. How can I not be here?
Mm.
And literally, I can't be here. I go to school in New York." And I looked at him and I said, "Not your job. I'm blessed. I'm blessed because of your father, but also because of our community,
Yeah.
that I'm not going to be lacking people to help us out.
Right.
And the way you can help me the most is do great in school, do great in your sport, be a source of joy, distraction, and entertainment." And then I gave him, Paul, I gave him a job. I wonder if you gave your kids jobs. I gave my son, that boy, a job. I told him his job was to write me a letter for
Hmm.
every infusion. And I'd open it at every infusion, right? They were digital. There was no real opening. It was a
Yeah.
click, but whatever. And I said, can be about anything, about your life, about a class. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it will be digital chocolate that I can look forward to on this day that is otherwise not so great.
Yeah.
And it was actually the first of what became a series of happiness tripwires. But I like to say to people, like, I got 12 letters from my college freshman son. Like, who gets
Yeah. Nobody
that?
gets that. You're lucky if you get a phone call.
Exactly. I got 12. So, did you give your kids? I mean, obviously, it was hard for you, for them to want to do anything they could to help.
Yeah.
Were you able to give them any guidance?
The guy, I mean, the guidance was similar to yours. I wish I would have thought about that letter idea. My digital chocolate was watching Netflix shows that my wife hates. No, it was more about, that we've really worked very hard through their lifetime to set them up in a place where they've got the tools to succeed and to not let this disrupt that.
Mhm.
Um, because for me, uh, part of what will help me fight is knowing that they're out doing well. If I were to have seen that fall apart, it would have been hard. I mean, I think this is the thing you can't underestimate. You want to surround yourself with positivity. You want to focus on goals that feed your soul, and you don't want to bring
Mhm.
a lot of negatives into your life. And so for them, we were trying to reinforce those aspects of this journey. We didn't hide anything from them, but um, we definitely wanted to make sure that we try to reduce the amount of worrying as possible. And in doing so, I think we've been very transparent with them after that
Right.
initial conversation. So they know pretty early on, like every scan that I get now, what the results are pretty quickly.
Right. And I think that in a way reduces the anxiety. They know you're not going to keep something from them.
Right.
They know you trust them. And for us, I mean, well, both when I was a kid, because my parents had a similar approach,
Mhm.
and then as a parent, they're in it with us, and we want to protect them from whatever disruption it is, but they're in it
Yeah.
with us, whether or not we would like them to be or not, because we're a family
Right.
and they love us and we love them. And so then it's, what do we do with it? And it's interesting when you say surround yourself with positivity. I think that's very precise wording, because a lot of people want to tell cancer patients to be positive,
Hmm.
and I don't think that's actually productive. But
Yeah.
right, like that's like, I need to make you feel better. No, I don't.
Yeah. And
But
and I think let me add something to what you're saying. This is kind of weird to say, but it actually creates anxiety for the patient.
right,
I'm going to feel the way that I'm going to feel, and you just have to be okay with that. It's like,
let me feel it.
yeah,
Right, this sucks. What you were going through sucks.
yeah,
And but people can still send you a joke,
hmm,
or people can still tell you something good that's happening in their life.
yeah,
And I loved the concept of a goal, right? Or mini milestones is what I call them. So this one that went off, he's playing ball.
hmm,
I said to him, like, I will do everything in my power to get to the Florida spring break baseball. A, because it's Florida and not upstate New York, so
right,
that's better. And, and B, because I want to see it. And I talked to my doctors.
hmm,
I said, here's the 2 week period. I had chemo weekly on Wednesdays. When can I fly? And they basically said, Thursdays,
Right.
be back Tuesdays, right? Like, and wear a mask.
Yeah.
That was it. Like, it wasn't this, you have to stay in a sterile room and all. That's not what it's like.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about what you just said right before this conversation. I think the media portrays cancer patients a certain way. And if you saw me, actually, I had a lot of people at work when I was going through treatment that were just completely unaware that I was
Hmm.
in chemo. And so it's not, I think there are certainly people that, because of the drugs that they're taking, will look like what you see on television. But there are a lot of us walking around that you'd have no idea uh,
That's right.
going through.
Well, and, did you lose your hair from chemo, Paul?
Uh, I had like all kinds of weird things happening with my hair. I ended up shaving it because it was like I
Okay.
didn't lose all of it, but it was patching. But then I had other weird stuff like the second round of chemo where I had hair that was growing here, and so we started jokingly calling those side brows. And I had like hair growing on my eyelids. My
Oh my
eyelashes were
God.
getting braided. We actually had to trim my eyelashes once a week because that hair was growing faster than I don't know. It was bizarre.
That is unreal,
Yeah, but
right?
hair on my legs. It was
Right.
crazy. Yeah.
Right. And you kind of have to laugh like that. Like,
Yeah.
this is absurd. We have,
What are you
like,
gonna do about it?
side brows, and we're braiding my eyelashes. And you got to laugh because the other alternative is just to be miserable. And who wants that?
Yeah.
So you're like, this is ridiculous. You mentioned work.
Hmm.
And like me, you continued working
Yeah.
through your entire treatment. And would you tell us a little bit about Project Lift and Shift, where that came from?
Yeah. So the woman who's my boss, she's known me for a long time, um, and she's like, when I told her the news, she said, she loves project naming stuff, so she's like, we're gonna do Project Lift and Shift. And so what that was we took one of the other vice presidents, and he shadowed me as I was prepping to go into both chemo and my surgical procedures, um, so that he can kind of step in and act because I told her I don't, I'm my chemo is going to be every Friday, and then I get a week off. So
Hmm.
if I power through it, worst case, I would be off 2 days every other week from work. Hopeful thinking, right? Because you have no idea how the chemo is going to treat you going into it. And
That's right.
my doc actually tells me all the time that my superpower is that I'm able to withstand chemo pretty well. That may not be true for everyone, but
Right.
so yeah, we had someone cross trained with me, and then I've got a great team. They were like, whatever you need, um, and so we gave them. This is like a great leadership opportunity. How often can you give your team all of your work and say, I trust you to make sure that the ball keeps rolling.
Right.
And so yeah, we had a number of my team step forward, take on all that tasks. Now it turns out, really, I was only out Fridays. Maybe I'd sleep
Hmm.
in till 10 o'clock on a Monday. I was there, but I did still step back because for me, it gave me an opportunity to focus on more strategic work and give them an opportunity to just take on some of the stuff that I didn't want to be doing anymore. That really was a growth opportunity for them to kind of pick up and take on tasks or meetings or planning sessions that were appropriate for them to be taking on, and then give me a little more room to work at a more strategic level and coach them a little bit more.
Which is a win-win,
Totally.
right? You probably never needed to go back to that minutia work.
If anything, when I did come back, we shifted my role a little bit. Like we didn't back down from the work that they took on. We maintained that structure, and I maintained kind of a broader focus and on a go forward basis.
And how did it feel to work? Like, what was the role of work in your kind of how I'm facing cancer?
Yeah, for me, I did not want to be. I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to be sitting at home without a set of goals or without purpose. And so I knew that if I was at home not working, uh, I would focus on my cancer, which is the opposite of
Hmm.
what you want to be doing, right? It's
Hmm.
it's there, it's a thing, but the more that you can kind of find purpose and set goals that are outside of your cancer, that distraction allows you to kind of reset your mindset and get joy from elsewhere. Because it's overwhelming. It's I think the thing that I didn't really even understand when I started through this cancer journey is even like when you get to your first Ned cycle, you're not the same. Your body's not the
Mm-hmm.
same. Like I have persistent neuropathy as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Can you tell people what neuropathy is?
yeah. So what happens is certain parts of your body, the nerve endings get damaged, and so it can present itself as numbness or pain. There's a lot of variants. Diabetes patients tend to get neuropathy quite often. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it can be they the docs worry about you doing things like breaking your toe because you can't feel your feet, and if you kick something, you might break something and
Mm-hmm.
not even know it.
Wow. Okay. Did you use, I used ice mittens and ice socks to try to minimize neuropathy. Did you try any of those?
No, I actually was more focused on acupuncture and exercise as a means to counter a lot of that.
So many more men to do that. So stay tuned, stay with us, come back next week for part two of Paul Apodoca and Fighting Like a Man. Thanks.